Thank you all who have joined the Dr. James Still Historic Office Site and Education Center today for our virtual presentation of an elderberry syrup workshop. We do appreciate you joining today, keeping in mind that the mission statement of our organization is to teach, restore, and preserve the legacy of Dr. James Still, who was also known as the Black Doctor of the Pines. Today's presentation will be given by Franchette, and I would like to give you a little bit of information about Fran. Fran is an herbalist educator at the Dr. James Still Historic Office Site in Medford, New Jersey. She's a graduate of the Herbal Medicine Program at the Lourdes Institute of Holistic Studies, where she also received certification as a massage therapist and reflexologist. She began studying herbal medicine because her clients needed more than just structural healing, so she began using methods such as Epsom salt baths, castor oil poultices, and other remedies her grandmother taught her to use in aiding the health and wellness of others. Fran has been a special education teacher in the East Orange School District for 24 years. Her dedication and tenacity mold her autistic students into thriving, flourishing preteens, and her studies in herbal medicine also focus on children with autism, ADD, ADHD, and other disabilities. So while she's here collaborating with us as a volunteer at the Education Center, we'll be developing more and more programs which include herbal classes, herbal walks, wild crafting, and other items. So we welcome you today to our elderberry workshop. A little bit of information about elderberry. Elderberry is a dark purple berry from the European elder tree. Elderberry is commonly used as a medicinal plant used all over the world. The plants were used by ancient Egyptians to improve, heal burns, and treat complexion. Native Americans actually used it to treat infections. Elderberries are most often used today as a supplement to treat cold and flu symptoms. The berries and flowers of elderberry are packed with antioxidants and vitamins that may help boost your immune system. And they're also high in vitamin C and high in dietary fiber. The raw berries, bark, and leaves of the plant are known to be poisonous for some types and can cause stomach problems. Historically, the flowers and leaves have been used for pain relief, swelling, inflammation, and to stimulate the production of urine to induce sweating. The dried berries or juice are often used to treat influenza, infections, sciatica, headaches, and dental pain, as well as being used as a diuretic or laxative. The berries can be cooked and used to make juice, jams, chutneys, pies, and elderberry wine. And the flowers are often boiled with sugar to make a sweet syrup infused into tea. So on the next slide, what you're going to see is actually the recipe that Fran is going to use today. So just the ingredients, so you have it, is some elderberries, 2 cups, rose hips, some fresh chopped ginger, a cinnamon stick, some filtered or spring water, and some locally grown honey. And Fran is going to go through the instructions with regard to how to make the actual elderberry syrup. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the next part.
Hi, my name is Fran, and welcome. I'm so glad you came here to join me in making some elderberry syrup. Thank you for coming to the James Still Historical Society. And there's going to be a lot of things that you can come in and you can do and watch and see, and we're going to have a great time. So today, we're going to be doing a concoction of elderberry syrup. It's actually called elderberry syrup, but it's called a decoction. So elderberry syrup, the elderberry is called Sambuca negra, and it's a berry that grows on a tree. Starts out as a bush, but it grows on a tree. So this actually can be used to help to fight cold, to help to fight the flu, influenza. It helps to do a lot of things for your body. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to make a preventative measure. So it's something that you can take every day just to keep things out of your body, to keep your body energized, it's high in vitamin C. So it's going to help you stay charged. Okay, so I know that I have certain ingredients here, but it's kind of like pizza. You add your own things to it, you make it your own creation. So I gave you some basic ingredients that you're going to use, which is elderberry. And once it's cooked, then you're going to use syrup, and that's what makes it a syrupy concoction. But you can add other things like cayenne pepper or red pepper, or you can add things to help it boost your system, like astragalus or echinacea. If you're already feeling down, those are immune boosters. So you can use those things to, if you're already sick. But we're going to make a preventative measure that you can use every day. So there are some things that you can use if you're feeling sick. Those will help to boost your immune system. You don't want to do things like astragalus every day because you want it to work in your system. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour 2 cups of elderberry. Now the elderberry goes back a way, way, way long time, and it grows on the elder tree in little bushes. And the bush hangs down from the tree, and you have this big spray of berries, and they're beautiful right now, they're dried. So what is the myth of the tree, if you believe in spirits or rituals? What they thought was that the tree, because it was the elder mother, it was the elder tree, that there were spirits from the tree, and the tree would do things. It was said that if you sat under an elder tree and you fell asleep, it would take your spirit away. I don't know if I believe that. Or if you made a baby's crib with the bark of the elder tree, that it would take the spirit of your baby. I don't know if I believe that either, but that's a myth. Okay, so we have 2 cups of elderberry, and these are dried. I'm going to pour them in the pot. All those berries. And you want to be very careful because it does make a very strong dye. So you want to be careful not to get it on you. Or when you're using your hands, you want to wear gloves. So I'm going to use elderberries, and I'm going to use rose hips. Rose hips are loaded with vitamin C, and it's going to help to boost your system as well. I'm going to add in to the elderberries. So I have 1 cup of rose hips. And these I bought, but if you have a rose plant, you can save the rose hips at the bottom of the rose, take the petals off and save the bottom, and you can let it dry, and you'll have the hips from the plant. So we have rose hips and the elderberry here. I actually like to eat rose. Good to crunch on. Okay, now I'm also going to use cinnamon sticks. And cinnamon sticks help to boost anti-inflammatory. So they get rid of inflammation. It helps to soothe your stomach. Cinnamon sticks really do a lot for your body. So I'm going to add 4 cinnamon sticks. And you really want to do whatever recipe you like. You can add things that you want to it. It's going to be something that you're going to take every day. So you want to add things that feel good to you. Like if you're having lung congestion, you might want to add mullein. If you're having digestive problems, you might want to add some slippery elm. Things like that are very helpful. I personally like to add red pepper to everything. So I'm going to show you how much I'm going to put in there. I really like it to pack a punch. So I'm going to add about this much red pepper. I really like when you taste the syrup and you feel it going down your esophagus and it's nice and warm. So the red pepper does it, and I'm going to put a little dash of cayenne pepper, about 1/4 teaspoon. And we also want to add ½ cup of ginger, chopped up. So now we have a really good mixture of things for our elderberry syrup. Okay, Now I'm going to stir it up. Make sure all that cayenne is mixed in there. Okay, now we're going to add our water. And basically you want to use 1.5 cups of water to a cup of herb. So I'm going to add the water. And really, when you're making a mixture, you're using your herbs, you want to start out with a good product. Because you know when you start out with a good product, you end up with a good product. 2, 4, and 5. Okay. Because if you start out with bad products, then it's not going to be as good. It's going to be good. It's still going to work because the herbs always work. But I prefer to use organic as opposed to just anything. But then again, you can use things that you grow in your yard and trust that you grew them, you put your heart and soul into them, and it's going to be good. Okay, so you want to mix it up, make sure it's good and mixed. And then we're going to put this on the stove. We're going to let it come to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, we're going to let it simmer for about an hour. Okay. Now you can see that it's turning a really scarlet red already. So when it's finished cooking, all the herbs and the vitamins and the nutrients are going to infuse into our syrup. So it's going to be really good. Okay, and syrup isn't the only thing that you can do with elderberry. You can make jams, you can make a tincture that we're also going to do a demonstration of. And you can just make so many things with it because it is edible. The berries are so good, you can make pies. There are lots of different things that you can do. Okay, I'm going to turn the light on. And we're going to let it come to a boil. And once it comes to a boil, you want to lower your light and let it simmer for about an hour. All those juices are going to infuse.
We're going to use honey right now. And we're going to use honey because we want this to be able to give to everyone in the family. And we don't want anyone being a little tipsy from taking some syrup without. So it's good for your circulatory system. It's good for your body. It's good for your skin. There's so many things that elderberry are good for. But right now we're making an elderberry syrup to use it to heal, to keep us safe from getting viruses, getting colds, getting flu. Now there's a lot of methodology that goes on with elderberry, and it's the elder plant, so it's one of the older plants. And if you believe in spirits, and if you made a baby's crib, no, excuse me, the red is poisonous, I'm sorry. The black, which is what we're using now, they look red. The black is what we're using now, and there's blue. So you should really only use the blue and the black. The red is supposed to be poisonous. And so is the bark of the tree. The bark of the tree is a hollow bark. So actually kids would use that to shoot spitballs because it's hollow.
Okay, so now that our elderberry is cooked, yes, it's great. And you can smell the cinnamon and the ginger and the elderberry all mixed up. And it's so aromatic and it's wonderful. Okay, so we're gonna take our mixture and look at, oh my gosh, look at that. It's wonderful. Okay, so I have a cheese ball and I have a colander underneath it. And And what's going to happen is I'm going to pour everything in here. I'm just going to take out the cinnamon stick. So what you want to do is let it cool down a little bit first. A little bit higher than I want it to be. Take out the cinnamon sticks because you can't squeeze those. Some of them broke up a little bit, which is okay. That means that good cinnamon nutrition is getting in here and it's infusing into my elderberry. I got them all. There we go. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to let all of the juice come out. And like I said, you might want to wear gloves because it's going to make your hands turn red. Very careful because it's going to spray a little bit. It's one serious process, but it's so worth it. So I also learned that the elderberry was the tree that Judas in the Bible hung himself on, an elder tree. As well, when Jesus was crucified, he was crucified on an elder tree as well. So the elder tree goes way back centuries as a tree that really has an herb, has berries that can be used for so many different things and have been used for centuries. So you can see I'm just squeezing down the cheesecloth, squeezing all those berries, getting out all that juice. So much, it looks like there wasn't any, but there's lots and lots of juice yet. Just have to be squoze out. That works. Okay, so just squeeze it until you get all that. I'm making a bit of a mess. So you might want to have on an apron because it will stain. Want to be careful not to get it on yourself. My hands are going to be scarlet for a couple of days, but that's okay. It's worth it. Shows that I made some elderberry syrup. So just keep squeezing and squeezing until you get all that goodness out. Oh, I did on my boots. Okay. Just be careful not to squirt yourself or anybody else. You're going to get all that goodness. Now, the other thing I was about to say is that if you see an elderberry tree and you see the berries on the tree, they're hanging down in big branch clusters of berries, and they have all these little stems. If you really look at that and look at the lungs and the cardiovascular system, it looks like a lung, and it looks like the veins that are going through the lungs. And usually they say when there's an herb that's good for an organ of your body, it resembles that. So the elderberries resemble the lung and the cardiovascular system of the lung. So that means it's good for your lungs, it's good for your heart. Very good for heart health. This is why we have this rich red color. Good for our heart. So if you take this every day, it's going to boost heart immunity.
So Fran, we have a question that's come in.
Sure.
And the question is, how often can you take the elderberry syrup a day and how much?
Well, you can start out with, depends on how you feel. If you feel sick, you might want to do it in the morning and then do it again in the afternoon. You can do it as many times as you want to because you're not going to OD on elderberry. So When you get sick though, and I said this that I'm making right now is a preventative measure. And I will also show you when you're sick, you want to take a tincture. And a tincture is elderberry, but it's made with alcohol. And that is going to be fast, it'll get into your system faster, get into your bloodstream faster, and it will kill you quicker. This that I'm making right now is preventative. So you can do it a couple times a day. And if you're not feeling better, do it again. Okay, I think I'm going to stop squeezing here, but there's more juice. I'll probably squeeze some later. And also, when you have elderberry and something that you get from the earth, it's so nice to give back to the earth. So put some of it back into the ground. You don't, maybe elderberries might grow. You'll have an elderberry tree of your own in the ground. It's loaded with seeds, and perhaps you'll get elderberries. So put them in the ground. It might be nice. Thank you. Okay, so you see all these elderberries, there's all this juice. So a bit of a mess, but it's okay. You can clean it up. Okay, a little sticky, but that's fine. Okay, so now that we have our elderberry juice, we're going to make it a syrup now. And we make a syrup by adding honey. And what I'm going to do, I need to wash my hands. Give me 2 seconds. Hard to work with sticky hands. Okay. So now, what I'm going to do is we have our mixture, which is good. You can take it this way, but you want it so that the children will like it, the family will like it, everybody's going to love it. Also, honey is going to bring out more properties, and it's going to help your system to do even more in fighting virus, fighting infection. So I'm not going to pour it into the cup. I'm going to lose some of it. So with honey, basically want to use a locally grown honey because it's made with locally grown bees. So that means your allergies are from your area. You're subject to those things that you're around. So you want to use a local grown honey, and that will help you with allergies. So I'm going to pour the honey in, and it's about a cup. I'm going to pour the honey in, and I'm going to mix it to make that syrup. So one important thing to know with honey is that you do not want to give it to children that are younger than a year old. Children that are younger than a year old can get something called infantile botulism. And that's not good for children at all. That's pretty bad. So no honey for children under the age of 1. And if you're going to make elderberry syrup and you do need to give it to the child, you might want to use sugar or agave or some other sweetener, just not honey. That's 1 cup. I'm going to stir that honey in, and you can see it starting to thicken up. And it so smells delicious. Look at that goodness. Okay, you want to stir it in. Basically, this is your finished product. I always like to throw a little bit of cayenne in there just to make sure you get that punch. Because when it goes down your throat, I love when it's just going down and it's hot. It makes you feel good and it warms up your whole body. Cayenne pepper is good for your cardiovascular system. Helps to open up your vessels. Opens everything up. Opens your airways. Just helps your system to function lot easier. Okay, and there's your syrup. So what you're gonna do now is you're going to bottle it. I'm gonna pour it into, let's pour it into the measure. Okay, so the elderberry syrup will be good. It's refrigerated and should be refrigerated. Should be good for up to 30 days. You can just pour it. Okay, and there is your finished product. And of course, you always want to label your bottle and put a date on it so that you know exactly what the date is, when you made it, and how long it's going to be good. You want to label everything, because then you'll have mystery bottles of things you don't know what they are. And it's actually neat here on the top. You can actually put the date there. So that's our elderberry syrup. So I told you also we can make an elderberry tincture. The tincture is elderberry, but it's infused with alcohol. So we're just going to make a little of that because it's going to be really strong. So when you feel like, oh, something's wrong, I feel sick, I need something, that's when you go to the elderberry tincture. And you're actually only going to use a little bit of it. Probably a dropper full would be good. Unless you're really bad, you'll take 2 droppers full. But the thing with the tincture is that it takes a long time to actually turn into syrup. So what you're going to do is you're going to get a container, put your elderberry in it, like this, and then have some brandy. You can use brandy or you can use vodka, just an alcohol. I prefer brandy. And you're going to fill it up as far as you can, because what's going to happen is you're going to take this and you're going to let it sit for at least 30 days in a dark place, cool place, not a warm place, and you're going to let it sit. And the water-soluble constituents are going to be pulled from the berries into the alcohol, and it's going to make a good medicine. So you're just going to let this sit. And you can see it's already starting to turn red. I'm just going to let it sit in the closet, but it is only used when you have a problem. This is not to be taken every day, because you will be drunk. Yes, really. Not every day. Okay, these are for every day. You can take that every day, give it to your kids, you can give it to your grandma, give it to everybody, because that's a preventative measure. It's going to keep all those things out of your body. Okay, so lastly, we're going to make something that's really, really nice. So, and it's fun for the kids to have gummy bears, but these are elderberry bears. So what I'm going to do is have a powder. It's called agar. Agar is a seaweed, and we all know that seaweed is so good for us. But agar powder is also a seaweed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, I took a little bit of my elderberry syrup and I separated it. So before it gets hot, I'm going to put my agar powder. I'm going to put a teaspoonful of agar powder while it's still cold. Teaspoon and a half a teaspoon. I hope this works. Okay, I'm going to stir it in. Stir it in, and what's going to happen, the fantastic thing about agar is it's going to gel up. So sometimes people use gelatin. I don't like to use gelatin because it's made with pork, so I don't prefer to use that. But agar is just a seaweed, but you get the same effect. Once it gets heated, it will gel up.
So Fran, we have a question. Can you
Yes.
possibly spell that agar gel so that they know?
Okay, it's agar, A-G-A-R, and it's commonly known as agar-agar. Okay, I'm gonna keep stirring, and what's gonna happen is it's going to gel. It will start to thicken up. Okay, so hasn't started to thicken up yet. If it doesn't, in a couple of seconds, I'm gonna put a little bit more. Because I didn't measure it, when I put it in the cup, in the pot, I don't know how much I have in here. Okay, so we're all cool. I'm gonna put a little bit more in because it hasn't started to gel yet. Okay, I'm gonna put another half teaspoonful in. I'm gonna keep it stirring. Okay, now, so I put two teaspoonfuls and a quarter teaspoon. Okay, now it's starting to gel. There we go, thickening up. So it's kind of like making Jell-O, but okay, now it's thick. So what I'm gonna do really quickly is I have gummy molds, and you can buy these on Amazon. They're just called gummy molds. There. So this, my mixture was from here. So what I'm gonna do now, there we go. And I only put a little bit in there because I just have one mold to do. See that? Now I have a dropper. See it? Now mix these up with that. So you go on Amazon.com and look up gummy mold. And what I'm gonna do is just pop my mixture into each gummy mold, and I'm gonna do this quickly because I don't want it to gel before it hardens. There we go. This is time consuming. And usually you'll have more than one person doing it. You have a gummy party. Because you have to do it quickly. If you don't, it's gonna get hard and you're not gonna have your rules set. Okay. Something for the kids to do. Good fine motor skill. Okay. So, any more questions? Okay.
So one of the questions that came in, and we've had several, so I'll start with this one. Have you tried making syrup with peppermint, horehound, or other herbs?
Peppermint. I have not used horehound, but I have used peppermint. So what you need to do is make the tea first, and then add maple syrup. So what you're going to do is you're going to use the peppermint, boil the peppermint, and you want to have a lot of it. You don't want to have, you want more of the taste rather than liquid because it's going to be a syrup. So you're going to make the tea, but a very strong tea. So it's just a concoction. So I shouldn't say tea, it's a concoction. A decoction. You want to make the decoction first. So you use the peppermint leaf. If you're using whole peppermint, you want to use the leaf. You put it in the pot, you boil it, but you want to have a lot of peppermint, not a lot of water, but you want to cover it. Let it simmer like we did first. We boil it first, and then let it simmer. And then we want to use juice. Then we're going to add some type of sweetener to it, like maple syrup. Okay, so here are our gummies. They're all filled in. Now you want to refrigerate them because it's going to take about 40, 50 minutes for it to gel completely. But they're even better overnight. So let it sit, and let them sit in the refrigerator. Okay. And here we have the finished product. Here are gummies already molded. And the fun thing is that you can just pop them out. And you have your gummy. And they just pop right out. So that's what's fun about these molds. And you actually see that the eyes and the feet and the hands. And these are fun for kids to eat. Adults too. There we go. Look at all those gummies.
So Fran, another question. Can you purchase elderberry juice as a base in lieu of purchasing the actual elderberries?
Yes, if you go to Whole Foods, they do have elderberry. They have elderberry syrup. I don't think I've seen elderberry juice.
Okay.
But some stores, they do have different types of elderberry syrup, elderberry jam. There's lots of different products with elderberry.
That's the white chocolate.
Okay, all right, let's have some samples. I want those go elderberry gummies. Oh, you want more? Okay, and I would say for an adult, maybe you want to eat 3 or 4 gummies. Those are packed with vitamins, nutrients, and that cayenne, you taste that pepper, got that kick to it.
A little jelly thing going on.
Yes. Tastes a little bit like a gummy bear. And it tastes a little sweet, so with that honey in it, the honey gives it that goodness, that sweetness that makes it good for kids. It's good for everybody. So, do we have any more questions?
Yes. So is there a substitute honey for vegans?
Yes. You can use agar, agave. Agave can be used. Maple syrup can be used.
Okay. So once you jar the elderberry syrup, do you need to seal the bottle to preserve it?
Yes, you don't need to do it as if for canning, but you want to keep it refrigerated because it only has a shelf life of maybe 30 days. Keep it in the refrigerator. I even believe that you can freeze it and then take it out later. So make a batch and then put some of it in the freezer, let it freeze, and then keep one in the refrigerator for your current use.
Okay. And then one other question that came in, can we add other herbs like ginger to the elderberry tincture with the
Yes.
brandy?
To the tincture, yes, you can add anything to the tincture because the more herb you put in it, you don't want to do too much, the more herb you put in it, the more of those other things that those herbs do. Like I said, mullein. Mullein is good for your lungs, it's good for your chest, it's good for congestion. That would be a good thing to put in to help those things as well. So like I said, it's like pizza. You can make your own. Make your own, just do it your way. And this is my way. There are so many different ways. There's no one set way that says, okay, this is the only way you can do it. Make it however, whatever things you need, you put in there. If you need slippery elm is a mucilage. So that's going to help things to move in your system. Put that in there, and that's going to help to also aid your digestion. Make it whatever you want it to be to help you, because you know what your body needs. not anybody else. You know what you need. You know how you feel, and you know what things your body needs. So make it your way.
Wonderful. So the question also came in, you mentioned mullein.
Yes,
How do you spell that? Is that M-U-L-L-E-N?
yes, it is.
Okay. And then a few other questions came in. So this has to do with the gummy mix. Can we pour the gummy mix in a shallow pan, let it set, and then cut out little gummy squares?
Yes. So actually, what I have left in the pot, because I don't have another gummy mold, I do have a gummy mold. So what you can do is get a flat container. One of these plastic containers that you get with food in it. So it's flat and it's square and it's rectangular. You can just take this, pour it into that container, put it in the refrigerator, let it gel, and then just cut squares. Or you can get a mold and cut stars, whatever you want. Just put it in that pot, let it mold. And yes, you can put it in whatever you want to put it in, and it's still gonna mold. So it doesn't have to be in a gummy mold. Yeah, share that, eat that, and then you will see. And you will love them just like me. I'm a teacher. So, damn I am.
Fran, this is all great. A few other questions that came in, and this is wonderful. So are there different types of elderberries?
Yes, there are. There are 3 types of elderberries. And of course, there are different places where there are different types of elderberry. So we get ours from North America. But there are 3 types. There's black elderberry, there's the blue elderberry, and there's the red elderberry. Only ones we want to use are the black and the blue. Because the red can be poisonous. And if you not sure how to use it, you should not use it. And I don't really think that you can buy the red ones in the store. Those you would have to do some wild crafting. So we use the black one, and those, you're going to get those medicinal properties from the black or the blue.
Okay.
And like I said, if you're sick and you feel it and you need something, you want to add something like astragalus or echinacea. Those things are going to help to boost your immunity. You don't want to do those things every day because you want to use it when you need it. But that's something that you might want to add to your elderberry, or make an elderberry separately and know that this is for when you get sick because it has astragalus in it or it has echinacea in it.
So when is elderberry season and when do you pick them?
Okay, elderberries start to come in around summertime, around June. They start to come in and they start to bunch. And actually, they're sporadic because they'll come in, they'll turn green first, and then they'll turn blue, and then later on in the season, you can pick them. So I would say late August, September, you want to start picking them. But they're sporadic, so they'll start green and then they'll turn, and then you pick those blue ones, and then more will come back, and then you pick those. And they're not commonly seen around here, but if we start planting them, we'll have more. Just have to be very careful because they're very susceptible to bugs and mites. So you really have to be careful and take care of them because they get damaged by nature very quickly. They're very delicate plant.
Okay. Wonderful. We actually had another question. Did Dr. Still prescribe elderberry syrup to his patients, and can elderberries be found in the Pinelands?
Yes, he did. Of course he did. Elderberry was something that really was used a long time ago. It was a staple. And yes, he made elderberry syrup. I'm not sure that, he used the alcohol. I'm sure he did to make a tincture. And I'm sure he used honey as well with the syrup. So yes, he did.
Okay. Just rechecking for any other additional questions.
As well, my
This has
grandma
all been
used
wonderful.
elderberry with alcohol. A lot of the things were used with alcohol back then because that's all they had, because they made it themselves. So things that they made themselves, they don't have the convenience of going to stores and picking up things. They made them themselves. They made the alcohol themselves, but yes, they did use it.
Actually had a comment come in, indicating that elderberries can be found in the intercoastal plain, but not in the pure pine barrens. Thank you. Someone who must live out in that region here in New Jersey is aware of where they're actually found there. So that's wonderful. Thank you for that feedback. Okay, I don't see any other new questions that have come in. I'm going to pause for a moment and ask if there's any other questions from the actual attendees. I don't see any. So Fran, once again, for a wonderful presentation. We have learned so much about elderberry syrup, so much about how to make a tincture in an effort to try to keep us all healthy.
Yes, yes, wonderful. Make sure you're taking your herbs because herbs are here to heal and they've been here forever. We just didn't know about it. We didn't do anything about it. And make sure when you're taking your herbs, you're drinking lots of water because water is going to help cleanse our system. It's going to help to move things that are in our body. We're not drinking water. We're not moving. We need to move things through our digestive system. So we need to drink more water. You haven't drank some water today, go get some water. And like I always say, water and breathe. We're breathing, getting to the bottom lobes of our lungs. We're getting that fresh prana energy in there, and we're cleaning our lungs out. Breathe. Be sure to breathe. Take the time to just stop and do some deep breathing because we don't do that. We need to breathe more.
Wonderful.
Have a happy Valentine's Day. Celebrate your heart. Make some elderberry syrup today. Bye.
Okay. Remind everyone that here at the Dr. James Still Center, at our website, www.drjamesstillcenter.org, we do have Dr. James Still's autobiography available for purchase, as well as two other books, one regarding his brother William Still, the abolitionist, and one regarding his brother Peter Still, whose life of being enslaved for 40 years is told in The Kidnapped and the Ransomed. We also have available for purchase the actual Underground Railroad book as well. So please visit our website at www.drjamesstillcenter.org if you'd like to purchase a book or even to make a donation. At the end of the day, we do appreciate you for joining us today and for supporting the Dr. James Still Historic Site and Education Center.